Could Dynamite Daniel Dubois be the baby killer? It's an interesting conversation. Let's talk.
Push the weight and now flex. Alive is more than the six. With the runner boy, you nigga, no question. You will run a motherfucker high stepping. Hey, you never had a big enough weapon. Motherfucker never learned your lesson. I'm a 88 pack nigga. I'm a 88 pack nigga. I mean, day walker, drink blood, fangs out, full moon, motherfucker change like a hoe, nigga. I'm just a nigga from the hood trying to stack a little cheddar for the.
Drew Titan, Bronx on deck. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. This makes for an interesting discussion. Here's the thing. This is actually an interesting fight. And I'll tell you why. So far, what we've seen from Daniel Dubois, we saw his heart. We saw his ability to rebound. Let me take you through this because his career is fairly short. He's maturing in his career, and everything that he has to have gone through as a professional fighter, I feel he's gone through it. Daniel Dubois was held to a high standard. The rumors about him beating on AJ in camp, I heard a few things. I heard he knocked him out. I heard he outclassed him. Whatever happened, there were rumblings about this young man before he stepped into the limelight. He was soft-spoken, big, menacing look, well-spoken young lad. And when I finally got to see him fight, I said, man, he's pretty damn good. He's a big boy. He's pretty good. And he wasn't clumsy. He had above average boxing skill. He had really decent power. He seemed very game. And, he had a marketable look. I said, okay, I like what I see so far. Let's see how he works. And he was doing his thing until he got in the ring with Joe Joyce. That's the fight that I picked him to win. And we saw the discrepancies. I don't know whether he thought Joe Joyce was going to go in there and lay down but Joe Joyce just went in there and legitimately just stuck his hand out, and Daniel ran into that jab and messed up his eye, and they stopped the fight. And I said, he showed no adjustments, man. What is he doing? What's going on? But I didn't abandon ship. I didn't, say, hey, man, look, this kid isn't the goods. He isn't what we thought he was. I didn't do that. I said, look, maybe he had a bad night. They were still fighting in the bubble when they fought. There was no audience. Maybe, he wasn't used to fighting in that, small of an atmosphere. I don't know. I didn't make any excuses for him, but the thing is, when these fighters lose, the important part is how they rebound. You want to see how they come back. I said, okay, he ate that. He had his full eye. I want to see what happens when he comes back. And forgive me if I don't know the timeline correctly. I think he he came back. I think he had a warm-up or something like that. I think he fought on a Don King promotion. And he got a win. And he fought on a Jake Paul undercard. He got a win. And salute to his sister too. She's the truth also. She could scrap too. Then he gets the Usyk fight. And I look, go watch the fight if you haven't seen it. I think he stopped Usyk to the body. I think Usyk played it up. But that was a clean body shot on the belt line. And Usyk took his time. They called it low. And I think that was enough to mentally deflate Daniel Dubois. And I guess, again, he quit. But I think that was more frustration rather than him being hurt. I said, man, I felt bad for him because I thought that, I thought there was some corruption behind that Usyk situation. So then they call him to fight Jerrell Big Baby Miller. Now, I ain't got to get into the history of Jerrell Miller. You know, he's like 6'5", 300 plus pounds, you know, athlete, you know, mobile for his size or whatever. And, you know, he talks a lot of trash. And on Day of Reckoning, the Saudis said, okay, we're going to give Daniel Dubois a shot against Jerrell Big Baby Miller. And Jerrell is Jerrell. He sold the fight. And I remember watching, like when they announced it, I said, you know what? I don't know how Big Baby's going to react when he's off of gear, because the thing about Jerrell Miller was that he's a big guy and he has a motor. He has an engine. He doesn't stop throwing punches. He's not a powerful guy, but he's a volume puncher. So what's he going to do when he, you know, how's Triple D going to react when he's cornered and Jerrell starts wailing on him? Is he going to have a mental collapse or what? Because he has that cape on him now, that he's a quitter. And I remember majority of the people I spoke to said, yo, you know what, man, he's going to corner Dubois and late in the rounds and he's going to turn up on him and he's going to quit. I said, well, look, I think Dubois is going to win. Now, I did make a little clown short about him when, you know, well, just go look. There was a short on Day of Reckoning. He said something that was kind of funny. I was just clowning, man. I picked Daniel Dubois to beat Jerrell Miller. I said, look, man, I don't think Jerrell Miller has fought a guy like Daniel Dubois. He's a big guy like him, not as big, but he's a big athletic guy who's fast, very accurate, and he's strong. So all Daniel Dubois got to do is take Jerrell into deep water, because, again, he's not on gear. He might not have the same motor. And what happened late in the fight, Jerrell is not the most defensively responsible fighter in the world. Daniel Dubois took him into deep waters. And then when Jerrell slowed down, he slowed down because Daniel Dubois was wailing on him all fight long. And then he put the gas on him. He smashed the gas on Big Baby and he stopped him. And I applaud Daniel Dubois. He really needed that win. And that was a clean win. And it was a confidence builder. Now here's why I'm asking, is Daniel Dubois the baby killer? Because there's another Big Baby in America named Jared Big Baby Anderson. He's a big kid. What is he, like 6'5", like 240, 250? I think him and Dubois are around the same size. And he needs a breakout fight, man. He needs a fight that will make him a major player in the heavyweight division. The time is now. America doesn't have any real heavyweights we could like rally behind right now. We don't. And there's been a lot of noise with this kid. They made a lot of noise. You know, he's a specimen of a human being. But is he the goods? And I'm not going to lie to you. There was things that I saw in that Charles Martin fight that I picked up on. Listen, I out and out said, if Charles, and salute to my brother Charles Martin, I texted him after the fight. I'm like, man, I think Charles took that fight on a week or two's notice. I think if Charles had a full camp, I think the outcome would have been different, because there was one round, I think it was round 9 or 10, Charles put some punches together and put Anderson on the back foot, and he looked totally confused. But Charles was not gassed. He was gassing out, and you could tell he wasn't like in tip-top shape. But from that little spurt, I said, uh-oh. Now, if Jared Anderson was seeing that from round 1, we might have had a different story. What we can say about Dynamite Daniel Dubois is that in comparison to Jared Anderson, he's been there, done that. He's lost some fights. He's been under the spotlight. He's fought in front of a huge audience. He's fought in Saudi and won. He's fought on the Jake Paul undercard, which was, I heard they did fairly great numbers. And he has an audience that still loves him. And he's game. So I think at this point, Daniel Dubois is like, what's the worst that can happen? That hasn't been done to me already. I quit. I rebounded. I felt I was robbed against Usyk. I rebounded. Jared Anderson had a big mouth. I punched him in it. I rebounded. So what's the worst that could happen? It's boxing. I think he's comfortable now in his own skin. He understands who he is as a fighter, and he's had his downs, and there's nowhere else for him to go but up. So I think he'll be very confident going into the ring against Jared Big Baby Anderson. But the thing with Jared Anderson is, I understand he's an emotional wreck at times. I watched the Roy Jones interview, and he's crying to Roy, but I'm 23. What if Jared didn't ask for all of this, meaning the limelight and people rallying behind him because he's some sort of super athlete from where he's from? I think Ohio. That's a mental flaw. And at this point, if Daniel Dubois ever had that, it's gone now. So this fight actually makes sense. Now, Jared never said Daniel Dubois' name, but, Jared is on the come up. What is he doing next? There's no word. We don't know. I know he had a little bit of trouble outside the ring. I don't want to focus on that. But what's next for this American prospect? It's time for him to put on his big boy boots now. And I think a match against Daniel Dubois will be really telling about him. He already beat one big baby. Can he do it again with Big Baby Anderson? Is Daniel Dubois the baby killer? And I'm going to tell you something that concerns me about Jared Anderson. That mental thing, I heard he has look, I don't know if they was joking or not. I don't know. Does this young man really have like a security animal, like a comfort animal, like a dog or something? And I'm not making fun of that. Some people need that because they have anxiety. So they need a pet, a security animal. I've seen that before. And what happens, listen, when he won against Charles Martin, when ESPN went backstage to, to film the locker room, he's laying on his mother's bosom as if he lost, and he looked like visibly upset. I'm like, what is wrong with him? So I want to know what happens if it's round 3 and Dubois lands like a check left hook on him and wobbles him or drops him. When he's on the floor, is he going to jump up like champions do and say, man, this dude I let him land that? I got to get that back. Is he that kind of guy? Or if he hits the floor, he's not that hurt. He's looking around and thinking all the crowd is laughing at him. And it'll drain him of his energy. And he'll become that scared little boy. I want to know what kind of person he is. Because he can't keep fighting guys that are names, but they haven't had a full camp, like my brother Charles Martin, or a bunch of guys we never heard of. It's time to step the game up. And Daniel Dubois is the perfect challenge. Because if you go in there and get Daniel Dubois, that's a name. And at this point, Dubois is a major player in the heavyweight division amongst the landscape. But I'm going to tell you right now, if these men ever cross paths this year, because I'm an advocate for this fight, I think Daniel Dubois will get him because of the things I mentioned. I don't know how strong Jared Anderson is mentally. But I do think that Daniel Dubois has gone through enough in his career right now, as it stands, that it's defining him not only as a fighter, but as a man. So if this fight is signed, I'll pick Daniel Dubois. unless something strange happens between now and this fight. Now, this fight is not even being talked about. This is just something that, you know, just jumped in my mind. And I'd like to see this fight. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Bronx on deck.